Hi, I'm Chris. This is MMA for You. I'm going to be doing my post-fight analysis for UFC 195. But before I get into that, I'd like to plug my own author's website at www.chrismoldon.com. On my website, you can check out blogs, which are updated weekly. The Writer's Talk web series, where I talk about everything writing, from writing a novel to query letters to whatever. Free short stories, and you can buy stories for sale. Also, my first novel, The Mustard Prince and the Condiment Kingdom, which is a fantasy adventure, is out on my website for $8.95. So make sure to buy that if you're interested. If you like books, it's really fun, high action story, and get that at my website at www.chrismoldon.com. Okay, on to the UFC card. I like this card. I thought it was almost every fight was competitive, save for Westcott Garcia, Miocic versus Orlovsky. I mean, even stuff that ended in the first round, like Sims versus Trujillo, was like getting, was going Sim's way until it didn't go his way. Same with like McDonald versus Kanahara. Um, Poirier versus Duffy was pretty one-sided in Poirier's favor, though. Um, so I thought the card was pretty good. My picks, they weren't that great. I only got 6 out of 12. I went with a couple long shot picks. Some were pretty egregious in hindsight. Like, I don't know why I picked Edgar Garcia over Sheldon Westcott. The way Poirier defeated Duffy, I mean, yeah, I definitely have been underestimating Poirier. Some of the other fights, though, were pretty competitive enough that I thought, I didn't feel that the pick was egregious. Um, Especially since some of the judging here was just really wonky. I mean, um, Lawler versus Condit, controversial. I thought Noak versus Morono, I thought that was a clear Noak win. Tanaka Soto could have gone Soto's way. Larkin versus Tumanov, I know people that gave it to Larkin. So yeah, the judging and for this event was really wonky. Bonuses, Miocic and McDonald got performance of the night, while Lawler versus Kondo got fight of that versus Condit got fight of the night. Let's get started. Robbie Lawler defeated Carlos Condit by split decision to retain the UFC welterweight title. Very controversial. I'll say it right now. I picked Lawler to win. I thought Condit won the fight. It's sad to hear that Condit is contemplating retirement after this fight. He said he put it all on the line and he didn't get the win. I know many are calling for an immediate rematch, despite the fact that Tyron Woodley was promised a title shot. Yeah, great fight. One of the best, already a fight of the year candidate, and round 5 had to be a round of the year candidate already. I mean, the way the fight went too. Condit in the first round drops Lawler. He gets out round. Lawler dropped Condit. He probably got that round. The third round is, for many, is the contentious round. The fourth round clearly went to Condit. He wobbled him at the end, and Lawler didn't do much of anything. And then the fifth round, most seem to have given it to Lawler. I see an argument for Condit in that round because he did well in the beginning of that round. But the third round's a controversial round. This fight I didn't think that Carlos Condit would do as well as he did with the range striking. I thought he'd do a lot of volume, but he did really well at the range striking. Otherwise, the fight went the way I thought it would. I figured Robbie Lawler would lose rounds. Heck, I figured he'd be wobbled, if not dropped. I figured that, it's a Robbie Lawler fight, and I'm starting to see like how his 5 round fights are going. The more he's doing them, and I said it in the predictions. I'll say it here. He just has some terrible middle rounds, and I think I'm starting to get why. He starts. It seems like in the middle of the fight, he starts just getting this utter one-track mind. If you notice in the third and fourth round, he just starts to counter strike and just be honed in on the idea of counter striking. Like he just gets honed in on doing one thing, and and by the time the fifth round rolls along, he's behind. His sense of urgency is higher. He wants to knock his opponent out, so he goes hard in the final round. Um, Yeah, the story of this fight really was Condit with the volume and variety, with Lawler mainly counter strike. He's being most successful counter striking, and Lawler was also counter striking, utilizing like hooks and crosses. I mean, honestly, that was kind of his primary offense there: hooks and crosses. He'd throw a couple kicks here and there, throw an uppercut here and there, but for the most part, he didn't throw a jab. He threw a lot of hooks and crosses. Condit was throwing everything: elbows, knees, uh, multiple strike combinations ending with a kick, multiple kicks. So it was a really good performance from Condit. I don't think it's a robbery by any stretch. This fight could have gone either way. I mean, for the most part, it seems like it was dictated by one round, and that one round is the difference between damage versus volume. I would like to see a rematch between the two. I think it'd be a lot of fun. Um, I'm hoping that Condit does not retire, but if he did, he had a great career. And Lawler, man, I think I'll probably keep picking him until he loses because he's doing a lot of 5 round fights. He gets dropped. He gets wobbled a lot of times. And he's going through these wars, and I'm kind of wondering when is it going to catch up to him? Because it's going to be sooner rather than later because he's just going through too many of them. I just can't see. I'm of the belief chins don't get better, they get worse. Um, so we'll see. I mean, he's already defied the odds by being UFC welterweight champion now. I mean, the guy's been fighting forever. He was like a mid-level guy for the longest time. Never thought he was championship material until he became a champion, more or less. And yeah, we'll see who he gets next. I mean, there's a good line there. There's Damian Maia. He's on a good streak. Stephen Thompson, if he beats Hendricks, maybe if even Hendricks beats Thompson, there's maybe a call for a rematch with Hendricks versus Lawler. Tyron Woodley, who's promised a title shot. If not, the immediate rematch is fine. So there's no shortage of quality fights for Robbie Lawler. I personally would like to see the rematch. I just think it'd be a lot of fun. Not to say that other fights wouldn't be interesting. I think stylistically, everyone at the very least is interesting. You can think, well, maybe if Maia gets Lawler to the ground, he can just take his back and choke him out or something like that. But on the feet, Lawler and his ability to keep the fight on the feet is amazing. So, it's just one of those things where most opponents, especially since they're all elite anyways, are going to be interesting opponents for Robbie Lawler. With Condit, like I said, if he gets a rematch, that'd be cool. There's a lot of fights for him, though. I mean, he can get like a Magny. He can get we never seen Condit versus Matt Brown. I hope we get to see it one day. He can get the Safadine if Safadine beats Ellenberger. Um, there's a lot of fights for him. Next fight after that, Stipe Miocic defeated Andrei Arlovsky by TKO, 54 seconds in the first round. It looks like Dana White told Miocic that he'd be next in line for the heavyweight title shot. I don't know if that's the case. Alistair Overeem has that big win over Junior Dos Santos, so maybe Alistair Overeem gets it. Well, but Overeem as of right now doesn't actually have a contract with the UFC, so I think Miocic deserves it. He's got that big win over Mark Hunt, and this was a big win too. Beat the number 2 guy. So, it's either Miocic or Overeem. Really, not much to say. I mean, Miocic just, he landed. He's always been a really good boxer, solid fighter, good wrestler. Both these guys are heavyweights. They can put guys away. I mean, it is what it is. And Stipe just, in a sense, I would say outbox Arlovsky. Arlovsky's so right hand dependent. You know what I mean? That's kind of why I say it. And Miocic's probably the better combination boxer. But yeah, if Miocic for whatever reason doesn't get the title shot, like I said, I think he deserves it. This was a good win to get off, for a title shot. You get the winner of Barnett versus Rothwell or something like that. Arlovsky can get the loser, Barnett versus Rothwell. I've always wanted to see Andrei Arlovsky versus Josh Barnett anyways. They're supposed to set that up back in Affliction. Arlovsky versus Junior Dos Santos would be pretty cool. You can fight Mark Hunt. He's coming off a win, but Arlovsky Hunt would be cool. Maybe Matt Mitrione if he loses to Travis Brown. So lots of good fights for Arlovsky there. Next fight after that, Albert Tumanov defeated Lorenz Larkin by split decision. I was fine with this decision here. I thought Tumanov got rounds 1 and 2, and then Larkin got round 3. Tumanov definitely had the better boxing, the better combination punching, and he would take the center of the octagon a lot more. Larkin, his best weapon in this fight, obviously, were the leg kicks. There are pictures of Tumanov's leg of it being pretty much mangled. This was pretty much how I thought it'd be. I thought it'd be really technical. I thought that Tumanov landed the more fight-ending shots to like the head and the body. He's working the body really well against Larkin. Larkin was doing really well, mainly with those leg kicks. A lot of his other strikes weren't as successful, but those leg kicks, the spinning one too, which he was hitting over and over again in the third round, really good stuff from Larkin. He really showed that he's definitely top 15 welterweight and really looks good in his weight class. Like he lost, but it's one of those losses where, for me personally, I think like, oh well, he can still climb the ladder. Tumanov to me is a blue chip prospect. I am just so high on this guy. He showed a weakness here though. I mean, if Larkin can get this leg kicking game going on Tumanov, I would imagine that others would too. So hey, potential weakness right there with those leg kicks. With that said, I think Tumanov should get a step up in competition. Maybe like a Rick Story, Safin. Excuse me. The winner of Ellenberger versus Safadine, maybe like a Dong Hyun Kim even. I think he should get top 10 to 15 guys, if not like the number 8, 9, or 10 type guys. Larkin, no shortage of guys he can fight. I mean, there's like the loser of like Cote versus Saunders. The guy that Ponzinibbio just beat. Him. His name I totally forgot at the moment. the loser of Strickland versus Garcia. I mean, there's so many. I think he actually trains with Strickland, so scratch that one. But yeah, no shortage of good fights. Joe Bond versus Larkin would be cool. So no shortage of fights for Larkin. Like I said, I think Larkin's moving up. He's looking really solid at welterweight. And Tumenov, I see top 10 potential with him. Next fight after that, Brian Ortega defeated Diego Brando by triangle choke in the third round. Brando was doing good. He was doing good, but Ortega is one of those guys. He's really young. He's still inexperienced in the sense that, like, his striking is still, it's rudimentary, but it's not great. I thought Brando was doing better in the stand-up portions, but man, Ortega's jiu-jitsu. I mean, going from the front choke, was that Darce or like Anaconda to mount to the triangle choke. I mean, that was just brilliant stuff. This guy's jiu-jitsu, real high-level stuff. His stand-up, though, probably needs some work. That's not to say that it was good when Ortega initiated it and had the dominant position for it. Because Brando actually took him to the ground. He would actually go in his guard. He would just get out of his guard. I mean, Ortega's guard is really dangerous, but I think most fighters would be able to, I mean, it's really hard to, for fighters these days to just like get triangle choked from the guard, just without like any setup or anything like that, for example. It's not like Ortega doesn't set him up or anything, but I mean, like, for the most part, a lot of guys can defend most submission attempts and whatnot from the guy on the bottom at this point. Nonetheless, I mean, with wins like this, I mean, Ortega's just going to get higher level competition, and I think a lot of guys, like, he'll probably fight like an Elkins or Kawajiri, who are just known to wrestle guys, grind them, and avoid crazy jiu-jitsu scrambles and like just really playing that game. He still needs work in stand-up. I picked him to win. I'm glad he did, but like, he's still pretty raw. He's a finisher though. He is a potent finisher. He's a guy who's looking to the finish at all times. There's a lot to like about Brian Ortega. I think there's really good, really good potential for Ortega. He doesn't. I think what was this, like his 9th or 10th fight or 11th maybe? Still undefeated. But yeah, I like what I see from him. Like I said, Diego Brando, good opponent to beat. Brando, I thought was a pretty bad stylistic matchup for Ortega, and it was kind of showing up until he got up until the final sequence. I thought Brando was doing a little better on the feet. He's able to take Brian Ortega down and whatnot, but Ortega managed to pull it out. It didn't sound right. Ortega managed to get the submission victory. And by just a brilliant sequence. This guy's jiu-jitsu is really good. And like I said, I think Ortega should probably get a step up. Let's see him fight a guy like an Elkins or a Kawajiri, who are like notorious grinders. Brandao, he's kind of showing that he can beat the mid-level guys. It just, there's a level of competition that he just can't seem to get past, which is really unfortunate. He is a solid fighter. He's a quality fighter, but he just can't get past this certain point. He's just getting more mid-level guys in the division, really. Next fight after that, Abel Trujillo defeated Tony Sims by guillotine in the first round. What a mistake that Sims made. I mean, it was just one of those things where like Sims was clearly winning the stand-up. He was timing Trujillo coming in and countering with like a right hand. Sims, he actually had a well-timed takedown, but like he stuck his neck out there. He didn't properly defend the guillotine. He tried to I think he tried to mount or something, or just front roll, which wasn't the best. Like he could have tried to step over to half guard or something like that. I mean, the cage was kind of in the way, but I think he was actually on the side where if he stepped over, like it would have been fine, or just or tripod even. He can but yeah, he made a big mistake, and it's it just goes to show with MMA. I mean, it's just one of those things. Leave your neck out there. I mean, like I said, it was a well timed takedown. Like he got the takedown. It was really well timed, off of a counter. Or yeah, off of Trujillo like threw a strike, and then Tony countered with the takedown. It was really nice, but yeah, smallest margin of error in MMA really. Um, with Trujillo, he was, I want to say he was on a losing streak, but his problems are still there. His striking is still he depends on his athleticism a lot and his power. But he was kind of just lunging in with like these right hands and getting countered and whatnot. Strong guy, but I got if Trujillo's gonna win, it's gonna be in the first round. And that's what happened. Sims is on a 2-fight losing streak. Lost to Olivier Aben-Messer, and now to Abel Trujillo. I hope they keep Sims though, just as an action fighter. I like to just see him, in other action fights and whatnot. He's a quality fighter, he made a big mistake here. He was doing well up until that point, that he got guillotined more or less. But yeah, both these guys is more lower to mid tier, just more mid-level guys in the division for both. Down to the prelims, Michael McDonald defeated Masanori Kanehara by rear naked choke in the second round. Um, you know, up until the point of the rear naked choke, which is beautiful, by the way he got into it and escaped the arm triangle and whatnot, I really did not like what I saw from Michael McDonald. And it's one thing to keep into consideration moving forward that Michael McDonald might be just a little too content to fight off of his back. I've seen him scramble back to his feet, so it's kind of surprising that he really wasn't trying to do that against Kanehara. It looks like he was just trying to get that guillotine or go for a sub or something like that. But he didn't seem very inclined to want to get back to his feet. This is McDonald's first fight in like 2 years, so maybe, he needs to get the rust out. And it's a quality win, too. Kanehara's a tough guy. And like I said, Kanehara's doing really well with the wrestling and top control. He almost finished McDonald until McDonald, I don't even know how he got the arm, out that arm triangle. He kind of cage walked too. If you notice, his feet were walking along the cage, and then he took the back, and got a really deep. He got the rear naked choke that wasn't a gable grip or behind the head. It was like he's able to, he's able to touch his own shoulder. So that's like the deepest rear naked choke you can get. Yeah, it was a good win. I would have liked to see McDonald box a little more. He early in the fight, McDonald hits kind of hard with this really nice overhand right. And for the most part, Kanehara was just winning from wrestling, top control, ground and pound. McDonald trying to set up certain subs and whatnot, but being relatively unsuccessful until the finish. But good one for McDonald. It keeps him in the discussion. He's still really young. The time off for him might actually be a good thing. He's been fighting for a while, but he'll probably get some top level competition next, like Brian Carey, Tomas Almeida, maybe even a Sunshine next. Excuse me. Kanehara, just more mid-level guys in the division. He's solid. I thought he should have beat Ronnie Yaya. Solid fighter. Kanahara is. Definitely a guy that they should keep. Next fight, I thought Alex Morono defeated Kyle Noak by split decision. Now, Alex Morono got a 229-28, and then Kyle Noak got 30-27. I totally had it for Kyle Noak, actually 30-27. Um, I feel that Alex Morono was hitting a lot of air, a lot, and a lot of this fight. I mean, he's throwing haymakers and hitting air. Noak, I felt was there were some times when Morono had Noak in trouble, but I was about that Noak also had Morono on rubby legs here or there. When Noak was on top, save for that third round, he was raining down ground and pound, finish off the round. I thought that Noak had this fight pretty easily, at the very least a 29-28. And like I said, the judging was just kind of all over the place in this fight. Nonetheless, Morono gets a big win over Kyle Noak. He still needs a lot of work. I mean, he came out this fight on 11 days notice, but I've seen some of his stuff outside the UFC. He's still pretty raw, and his takedown defense isn't very good. Still pretty raw, but we'll see if moving forward how he does. Kyle Noak, I guess he's kind of stuck where he is, just kind of this mid-level guy at this point that they can keep around. It's more lower to mid-tier guys in the division for both. Next fight after that, Justine Kish defeated Nina Ansaroff by unanimous decision. I don't agree with those 30-27s whatsoever. I don't know how she got 30. I thought the first round was clearly Nina Ansaroff's. I think there was a really good argument that Nina Ansaroff got this, should have got the win, period. Justine Kish was just moving forward, running into punches. Defensively, Kish looked bad. She looked like she had octagon jitters and looked like someone who hasn't fought in a long time. And, the combination of the two isn't that great. She also only has 4 fights. This is her 5th pro MMA bout. Still a lot of potential with Kish, like I said, she's hyper aggressive, which should actually get her pretty far. Good Muay Thai, not too bad of grappling, but yeah, it was a win she needed. But yeah, Ansaroff did pretty well, especially just hitting counters, hitting Kish when Kish was just moving forward and not really moving her head, and just catching her at opportune times. With that said, though, Ansaroff has a 2-fight losing streak now. Yeah, she lost to Juliana De Lima, and to Justine Kish. I don't know if the UFC's going to keep her. She's actually not too bad of a strawweight. I think there are some fighters that Nina Ansaroff can beat at women's strawweight in the UFC. You can give her Courtney Casey or something like that. Alex Chambers, just someone like that. Justine Kish. I'd like to see her fight a Seo Ham. I think that'd be cool. If I to give her pretty high level fighters, Jalen Caldwood, maybe Acing Daly, that would work as well. Next fight after that, Drew Dober defeated Scott Holtzman by unanimous decision. I like this fight. I thought it was really competitive. I thought these two were really well matched. I like that, in the clinch, it was there were points in the fight where Holtzman was trying to go for a clinch takedown on Dober. Dober, would reverse, get his own. And vice versa would happen, too. Actually, Dober would go for a takedown, usually from the clinch. Holtzman would get on top. I thought Dober was you can tell Dober was the more experienced fighter here. And I thought he had the better technical stand-up until later in the fight where Holtzman was actually getting his own shots in. You can tell that Holtzman is still pretty raw. And Dober has a good amount of experience. Is a pretty well-rounded fighter. He's solid. With that said, Both these guys just get more lower to mid-tier guys at the division. Okay, on to UFC Fight Pass prelims. Dustin Poirier defeated Joseph Duffy by unanimous decision. One scorecard of 30-26. Ouch. Duffy did well in the first round. He bloodied Dustin Poirier's nose up. But also Duffy couldn't defend some of the striking of Poirier as well. So they were pretty well matched in the striking department. It was mainly in the wrestling and the jiu-jitsu and top control that Poirier, like ground and pound that Poirier was just dominating in. And I got to wonder about that too, about Duffy's takedown defense and his ability to get back to his feet when he was taken down. Duffy looked pretty much unable to get back to his feet. I don't know if he was even trying, if he wanted to play jiu-jitsu or whatnot, but he was taking a bunch of elbows. And these were from the guard too. He got taken down pretty easily too. So, I was pretty high on Joseph Duffy coming in. Not because he beat Conor McGregor or anything. It's just because he's a solid fighter, But Poirier, I mean, he should be fighting. Yeah, I think he's already in the top 15. He should be fighting, guys in the top 15 or higher. Poirier should get like a Michael Chiesa or like a Beneil Dariush next. But Duffy, just more like mid-level guys at the division. Next fight, I thought Michinori Tanaka defeated Joe Soto by split decision. This fight kind of had me pulling my hair. It's almost like Robbie Lawler versus Condit, where like Joe Soto, like his coaches like woke him up, and he was just finally like, in the third round he turned it on. It was like there was nothing to fear with Tanaka's stand up because Soto doesn't have a great chin. He usually loses because of that. But he had nothing to fear, as shown in the third round against Tanaka, about, getting dropped or wobbled. He was getting, when he was pressing forward and being the aggressor, he was lighting Tanaka up in that third round. It was really interesting, though, because, like, in the first round, a lot of nothing happened, but Tanaka was getting the better of the stand-up because Soto wasn't doing, like, much of anything. Except near the end of the round where he got the go-go plot attempt and whatnot. And the second round, you got to give it to Tanaka. So, with Soto, this is like 3 losses in a row now, right? He hasn't won in the UFC. He lost to Dillashaw, Burchak, and now Tanaka. He's probably going to get cut. He's a quality fighter, too. It's just, I said it in the Burchak fight, and I don't know why I didn't apply it here. It's in the back of my mind. The thing with Soto is he allows his opponent to dictate the pace of the fight, especially in the early rounds. And on the first and second round, Tanaka was just dictating the terms of the fight until the third round, where it's like he finally woke up. With Tanaka, he's still young, but he's still limited, His striking still needs a lot of work, obviously. And as good as his like takedown and grappling is, there are those that are just as good, if not better. And he's not the biggest guy for the division as well. Nonetheless, he's still a good prospect. It's more like mid-level guys out of the division for Tanaka. And like I said with Soto, he's probably going to get cut. 3 losses in a row. And finally, Sheldon Westcott defeated Edgar Garcia by TKO in the first round. Here's the thing with Sheldon Westcott. He takes guys down, passes the dominant positions, and, either goes ape with punches or goes for the sub, and he'll relentlessly go for the takedowns. One thing is, though, apparently he was training out of Jackson's for this fight, Jackson Winklejohn. So I kind of wonder if they're going to fix a couple things with Sheldon Westcott. Because, he's a solid fighter, but he has a very singular approach to fighting. Edgar Garcia, man, this was an egregious pick. I don't know why I picked him. I thought it was a coin toss, and then I'm like, oh, yeah, Edgar Garcia is just not that good. It's like he's not – like he's decent everywhere, but not particularly that great at any one aspect of MMA. I mean, Westcott's nothing special, but at the very least, like, he can get that guys to the ground and he can finish them too. He has an inclination to finish guys as well. With that said, with Edgar Garcia, he's probably going to get cut from the UFC after this. 2 losses in a row. He has no role in the UFC, Westcott more or less just got to keep his job. So that's it for the post-fight analysis for UFC 195. If you have any comments, just leave them below. And don't forget to buy the Mustard Prince and the Condiment Kingdom on my website, www.chrismaldon.com, for $8.95. So that's it for MMA for you. Thank you guys very much.